Hey guys, welcome to the Swish Woodland podcast, and a special welcome to all the new listeners who have come over from the SENZ platform. Woodland has now partnered up with SENZ, so I'm super excited to see how this relationship develops over the next wee while. But as always, this Woodland episode is brought to you by Swish. Super grateful to have Swish on board as the major sponsor of the podcast. And if you don't know what Swish is, it's an awesome platform where you can get a video message directly from one of your favorite sports stars. It is the perfect gift idea for any sports lover, and there's sports stars all around the world on there already. The best thing about it all is that up to 70% of the proceeds do go to Kiwi Kids charities, so you can feel really good about your purchase. And just for being a Woodland listener, you can get 10% off your order by using the code Woodland with no spaces. I'll leave a link in the description, so just go click on that if you're keen to check it out. Also, if there's anyone listening who is suffering from muscle or joint pain, then I have just what you need. Pure Sport is offering 20% off all of their products if you use the code WATERLAD20. They are the most tested and trusted CBD oil in the world. Some of the biggest names in sport swear by it, as it's the ideal recovery tool, or just to help you get away from the harsh effects of the constant anti-inflammatories. If you're keen to try it, head over to puresport.com or click the link in the description. And lastly, don't forget that there's still plenty of Woodland hats and Woodland hoodies in stock, so go get amongst those if you're keen to support. And I am very appreciative of all the support this podcast has had so far. Keep sharing, keep liking, keep subscribing. Do what you can to help this thing grow. But let's get to it. Oh.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad. What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Oh, wow, what a lad. And I have a massive lad on for you guys today. The city of Sydney will be breathing a lot easier this week after their star player has recently signed with the Waratahs for another 2 more years. Massive news out of Sydney. But before he was a Super Rugby star, he was a beast in the UK Premiership for firstly Saracens, but even more so for London Irish. And now that he's back in Australia, I promise you it will not be long till we see him in the gold jersey. He's a hell of a player and a hell of a lad. It is the great Dave Porecki. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, mate. What an absolute privilege it is to be on this massive podcast of yours. I've seen you from the very bottom to now the top. It's incredible to see.
Mate, and great to have you on to boost my Aussie listeners. But like I said in the intro, huge news out of Sydney. Would have been front page all over the Sydney Herald and stuff over there. Was it an easy decision for you?
Yeah, actually happened like pretty quickly, to be fair. And yeah, it was easy for me. Like it was, we were sort of looking, well, as you do, like in contract negotiations, I'm pretty open to anything. Just want to see like what's out there. Obviously, I've got an English passport, so there were a couple of little sniffs over there as well, just heading back. But because it happened so quickly here, and like essentially the whole reason I came back, as soon as they said they were keen, I was pretty much like, yep, just make it happen and get it done. Because obviously, like the worst thing I hate is things that I'm not like sort of the type of player that go, oh, no, I'll wait and keep playing. I'm like, I want it done in my own brain, you know? I want that security. Yeah. So, yeah, as soon as that happened, I was like to my agent, please just, if you can just wrap this up quickly, then I can just sort of concentrate on footy. And especially this year, like we're actually obviously doing a little bit better than last year, so it makes it better.
Yeah, mate, nice. And how have you found it? Obviously, the return to Super Rugby. How have you found playing?
It's very, very different to... obviously, I had like a little bit different journey. I sort of obviously went to the UK early, whereas a lot of people sort of go at the end of their careers. So I got to the benefit of seeing just the way it's run. And obviously we had sort of George Skivington as our forwards coach. So he was probably most beneficial for me, and sort of Nick Kennedy as well. They would just like line out more scrum noises. So I sort of developed learning from them. And then you sort of come back to Australia where the priority is attack.
Yeah.
So there were like a lot of things at the club sort of we just needed to, I guess, just work on and see if we can incorporate some of that style into here, set piece wise. But it's just like they just think about the game completely differently. Obviously over there, there's 4 months of the year where you've literally just got to rely on set piece and maul, whereas here you can pretty much just like attack every single round, and set piece is sort of an afterthought. And then I guess athletically wise, I reckon you actually get probably some smarter IQ players in the UK, but that aren't naturally gifted. Whereas here you get the naturally gifted athletic players that are just freaks of nature on the field. And that's probably why you see like a lot of the Kiwi or Aussie players that go over to the UK, they normally make their way into the starting side just because in training you're like, holy shit, they've got X factor. It's not the normal sort of English player that are, you know, they've grinded their way through and they're big, they love the gym. Here it's like, we know how to play footy, we know how to like play what's in front of us, and teams over there like absolutely love that stuff as well. Case in point, wow. I just remember you rocking up to Irish and them being like, Jimmy just plays what's in front. Obviously then when we lost 20 in a row, they sort of reassessed everyone in the squad for
playing too much in front.
Well, that's why, like, obviously you've had Mike Coman on previously. He was like, I think they probably wanted a little X factor, but they realised that he was just an absolute grinder. But obviously, yeah, they loved him there as well. But yeah, in short, that's what I'm sort of finding. That
Speaking about that, the age difference between the two comps is pretty significant, eh? Like the Super Rugby at the moment seems like a really young competition, and like you probably were one of the youngest over in the UK Premiership. You come back here, you're probably one of the oldest.
It's offensive, man. Like I was obviously one of the youngest in the pack at Irish, and then I come back here and you're getting called old bull or uncle or something, you know? Like I'm still young. I'm 29, but then when you're like my loose head prop Angus Bell is 21 years old. Like it's very different. So yeah, the age gap is massive, but also in the year that I sort of left to go overseas was the year that probably Super Rugby in age, everyone sort of left as well. So the average age probably went from like, you know, high 20s, 30 to back then and rebuilt. And that's probably the whole story of Australian rugby the last couple of years, is that we're building towards the World Cup, and that the players that are coming through together as 21, 22-year-olds will have sort of 3 or 4 years playing with each other, which is quite good. And I guess you can sort of see it in the Tars this year from how we were last year. You know, they're so young and they got so much to learn, but all they need is sort of the right person at the helm and a couple of years together just to understand each other. And I think that's probably why we've definitely been better this year than last year. You just sort of get those combinations, you know, and they don't brush people here as easily as the UK. They're not sort of like a mercenary type club. They're very much like we stick it together and see how they go for a couple of years.
Mate, and you've been a huge impact on that Waratahs side as well. And it's been awesome seeing you out there, being able to play consistent footy. Obviously, big part of your career has been, I guess, dampened by injury, plenty of injuries, the way you play. How have you found it being able to string back-to-back games together?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Like, obviously, pretty much played a full season last year as well, and then like obviously my calf pretty much exploded. And I got up, and obviously the first thing I thought of was like, this is not going to be a good one. Obviously I've had like enough sort of like little tweaks to realize, and I just ended up being out for like 8 months. It was obviously like a little bit rattling because I pretty much missed all the preseason, then came straight back in. You got a new coach, and I think the worst thing is like when you're injured with a new coach, because no matter what you've done in your career, you've still got to start from scratch with a new coach. And obviously he was over in the US as well. So I just wanted to sort of show him what I could do. So anyway, we got into trials and got through, and then just, I guess, sort of just been, touch wood, going well this year so far with my body. Body feels pretty good. And yeah, I'm loving it. Like, obviously, the more games, the merrier. It's very different to the UK where you're backing up. As you know, you probably got like 25, 30 games in that 1 year with no rest. Whereas here, you've sort of been asked to play like 15-ish games. Even though it is like, your body's pretty sore after it because it's a lot quicker. Yeah, it's going well.
And you're in the frame for Australia. I think you've been into a few camps. How have you found that?
Yeah, that's unreal. Obviously, I was sort of on the radar last year and then my calf exploded. So I don't blame them for just, putting me in the back seat. I just had to obviously get my body right. That was probably the main thing. And then got included sort of in this 3-day camp recently, which was sort of more of a sort of admin and sort of understanding team culture type thing. They didn't sort of train us hard or anything, which is good because obviously we're mid-season. It was just sort of like just get together, understand where we're going, because I think, we finished Super Rugby and then they'll re-pick a squad for the England series, and there's only a short amount of period between that time, so it's not like a massive training camp. So the more they can sort of meet and each week sort of send you through your work-ons or, things that you're doing well is good. So I guess the best thing that they do is they just keep you in the loop. They're ongoing, so you super perform. They don't just sort of put you in a camp and then leave you be. They just continuously talk to you, and they're pretty open as well. You can ask like any questions you want about, I guess, what's going to put you in the best sort of frame to be there.
Speaking about Australia, obviously Dave Rennie's come in. How have you found working with him? What's he been like?
Yeah, he's pretty intense, to be fair, and pretty direct. He tells you exactly what he thinks, which is the best in my opinion. Obviously, it's a little bit different with younger players. You might have to sort of like be a bit nicer. You know what the crack is. It's like around sort of even team selection stuff. I'll use that as an example. You can't pretty much go tell a 20-year-old their shit. Whereas if you're coming on 30, you can go and be like, mate, you had a shit game. So I'm just going to... And you like appreciate the honesty.
Yeah.
I think he's like that regardless. So he just tells you how it is. Here's where you stand. And I've just loved, like, I guess the OCD in me, just how organised everything is. Everything sort of everything's planned really well towards something. So obviously they're planning towards this England series. Everything in that 3-day camp was just perfect leading into that. This is why we're doing what we're doing. We're not just putting up clips of England. This is why. This is why we're going to go well against them. This is the threats that they face and how do we deal with it. So everything's very, very detail driven. So I was like pretty impressed. And it's refreshing as well because he's had a lot of footy overseas in the UK, so he values a lot of that stuff as well, which is great.
So does he have much of an influence on any of the Super Rugby teams? Because obviously there's been big growth in the Australian Super Rugby teams this season. Has he had much of an influence on that, or is that sort of what you just mentioned at the start about the teams being together more?
Yeah, so they in the UK, when boys made England, obviously at Irish there wasn't that many people, but I still know obviously what it was like at Saracens.
Yeah.
You never saw any of the coaches like hanging around the club or coming in for meetings, but with the Wallabies, a lot of the coaches are pretty, they've got direct contact with the clubs because there's so many small clubs. They can afford to just travel around Australia and do that. So occasionally they're in. I think sort of Petrus Duplessis, he's probably been in the most, but you definitely see them every couple of weeks. They're coming in. Not only are they sort of checking up on the players, they're checking up on, they're just going and having meetings with the coaches. And especially for our coach, he sort of picks Dave Rennie's brain a lot, which he's said outwardly in media. But an example is sort of Dave was hanging around training, I think it was a week before, like last week or the week before, and was just popping up to a couple of players and asking them, what they're working on, are things called sort of winners block. So it's the end of training, it's things to work on. So mate, that's why you just head to the change room. You barely had anything you needed to work on. Whereas I'd be out there for 3 hours just doing everything.
Mate, mine was my hip. I had to get off the field.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I remember you going out for like extra kicking sessions and then coming in and going, my hip's fucked. So I guess using that as an example, he just constantly keeping on top of things. Here's what you need to do, and what are you actually doing? Do you actually understand what your weakness is? So he's making that sort of direct contact with you as well. It's not just an easy text message. He's actually making the effort to come to the club to check in that you actually are doing the things that you're doing. Because I guess that's the biggest fear for those types of coaches, is that you all meet up in this camp. You tell them what they want to hear, and then you don't go do it. So they're just constantly keeping you on your toes. I'm here. Where are you doing it?
Mate, exciting times for Australia rugby. But you did mention your OCD briefly in that last bit, but something I do want to touch on, because you are incredibly OCD, incredibly structured in your week and in your days. When did you start having that?
I reckon, I guess I never went to a big school in Sydney in terms of rugby. So I had a couple shitty injuries coming through school, didn't sort of make any of the rep teams. So came from predominantly, it was a skiing school really, which obviously I came out of school 121 kilos, so I was massive. I was playing loose head prop and throwing. I was still pretty OCD, before games and that. I always clean my room. This is when I was living back at home. So I think this started growing, but then went to uni and sort of learned about nutrition. And then from then on, the process of that where, you're prepping meals and getting yourself right for training, I think something just clicked that I was I actually love this, the structure of it. Ended up losing a heap of weight and then working my way into Manly. And then from then on, I think just got worse and worse where, game day, the house had to be cleaned. So just let's go bigger and bigger. And I remember watching Ben Franks actually talk about it in his he did a documentary. He is the same thing. You just need to have the house clean. But I think mine sort of went onwards to there into my entire life, not just pre-game. I think I've always said to my wife, if I wasn't playing rugby, I'd probably be a military man, just for how structured I like everything.
Yeah.
I think I'm just a man of routine, man of structure, and I think it works really well. Especially as a professional footy player, you need to be organised. I'm not the type of bloke that can just sort of get away with airy-fairy is what it is. I need to have everything sort of planned out, organised. I think that's just what works for me.
So how does your week work? Do you sit down at the start of the week and plan your whole week, or what's it look like?
It's a little bit different, with short turnarounds, but in terms of food stuff, a lot of clubs provide meals, but I just have always done it sort of my way. Just sort of do a big shop. Sort of Sunday and Wednesday are the days that I sort of plan out the half weeks. Yeah. So on Sunday, at some stage, I'll plan out the next couple of days, see what I need to do. At the moment, I was coming off, had a bit of a injury, had an infected abscess, which threw me off for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I've just been building back up from then, really. I lost a bit of weight after it was horrendous. So in a good phase right now where, try and plan out, especially my training Monday, Tuesday as massive days, and then taper towards the game at the end of the week. So it definitely chills out towards the game because I want to feel fresh, but making sure when I'm knackered on Monday, Tuesday that I get especially my gym stuff done, because I don't need to do sort of extra fitness stuff, because the training at the Waratahs and in Super Rugby in general is a lot more running based. It's funny because in the UK, they would prioritise the weights before the running sessions. They'd always say, no, we want you to maximise your weights, and then running's sort of an afterthought, training's an afterthought, as you probably know. Whereas here, it's no, we don't want you to jeopardise getting a tweak or something in the running session by doing heavy weights. So they swapped it round. So your sessions were more important. Luckily, this year we've gotten a bloke called Nick Lumley, who's come from Edinburgh, who is the trainer thought, no, we're maximizing weights. And again, could be the contributing factor to why we're like doing better this year as well. But for me, that's beautiful because 5 years I spent prioritizing that stuff and then having the field session as you're holding on and, you're just holding on and getting through it. Whereas, it sort of changed, which I didn't necessarily like because you're dropping weight, you're getting weak, and it's hard to get sessions in because you're coming off doing 6Ks or whatever in a session, you're absolutely rooted. So he's been like a massive injection for us this year, which is really good for us, I think. And like, especially some of the young kids, they don't know how much effort other teams put into the gym to get to where they need to be. Like I can see both sides. I know a 21-year-old in the UK, some of them don't even train sort of half the week so that they can keep weight on. They smash the gym, put on all this size, and then when they're sort of like 23, 24, that's when they start kicking on because they're physically able to, play that high level game physically. Whereas here it's pretty savage. If they'll flog you and flog you and flog you, I'll just speaking generally in terms of Australia, flog you on the field and then come up to you and go, mate, you're light. Like, we can't play you. And then, they'll struggle to put weight on for a year or two and then they'll go, mate, see you later. And they'll start their life after rugby. So yeah, it's pretty savage.
Mate, it's interesting hearing the comparison between the two hemispheres.
Yeah. It's like there are obviously like massive differences. But I think it is like aligning. The more interesting thing as well was how keen the UK clubs were of Australia when I was there. They were always asking, and then they actively try and get Aussie New Zealand coaches over. As you know, like with Irish, they had Tom Coventry. Now they've got Les Kiss. The Saracens sort of had Dan Vickers, which was he's a kicking coach from Australia. So they're just always, and they always have these visits as well from UK to Australia or vice versa. They just constantly checking each other out. Our forwards coach now, Paulie, I actually met him in the I met him in the change room at Irish because he came over to watch and observe, and he went to Sarries as well, and he sort of uses some of the stuff, especially around meetings or presentations at the TARS now. But it's funny that this year he took over, and I sent him a message. I was like, mate, who would have thought when I was meeting you in the change room at Irish that you'd now be obviously my forwards coach? It was it was a funny moment, yeah.
Mate, that is the crazy thing about rugby. It's such a small community. You'll meet someone in some place, and then a couple of years later, you'll find them other side of the world. You'll be being coached by them again, pretty much like your example.
Yeah, I guess probably one of the best things I learned, I reckon, was from some of the older players that, you know, obviously yourself, Brendan McKibben, when I was coming through young, was just try not to burn any bridges, just keep everything alive. And I think that's like worked for me in Australia because, you know, if all they do is they reference check. So sometimes if they want to sign a player, they just send a message to a mate and go, how's Dave go or how's Jimmy go?
Yeah. And
they'll go, oh, what a lad in your case. And if you've burnt one bridge, it'll be that bridge that comes back and they'll go, oh mate, we actually got some negative about you. So I always just try and keep everything alive and stay in touch with everyone. Not so much on the way of like, it'll benefit me in the future, but more just, you meet a lot of lads along the way that you want to keep in touch with. And rugby is that like community where everyone sort of sticks together.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I got all my contracts from players or coaches that I already knew, like Clarkey got me over to London Irish, Ulva got me to Japan. All these people I just met previously, and for some reason they liked me and got me over to that gig. So I know a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on agents and stuff, but for me it was always the contacts. 100%.
My funny story was I was actually sitting on the bench for Saracens. We were playing London Irish, and I think I was 24th man or something. And I got approached by a guy called Grant Dory. and he's involved with like Tonga Rugby, and he was there, one of their coaches for Irish, and he comes up to me and goes, Dave, and I was like, hey mate, how are you? And he goes, how are you, Grant Dory? Mate, I actually used to watch you when you were playing for Manly when I was with the Blues. Like, how are you? I was like, oh, we cracked on a conversation, all that. And then he goes, mate, what are you doing next year? Just out of the blue. And I go, oh, you know, just working through some stuff here at Surrey's. What are you thinking? And he goes, oh, like, give me a number and we'll have a yarn. So I gave him my number. I'm fully kitted in Surrey's gear anyway. No one's around us or anything. So he's come up to me and then anyway, walks off. He's like, yeah, I'll chat to you. And then I met up with him like sort of 2 weeks later, and he told me that after that interaction, Irish got a call from Sarries pretty much saying, stay the fuck away from our players.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So, but from that little minute conversation, I then met with Irish, and then that was when I met sort of Coventry and Grant Dory and got the contract. So I'm lucky he sort of like had the nuts to come up and have a conversation. But little things like that, he was watching me back in Australia play for a club team, and then just a little 1 minute interaction just got it started. And then even coming back to Australia, because I was sort of, when I was at Irish, kind of negotiating coming back to Australia, I was about to sign like a contract in the UK, and then obviously Rugby Australia like got in contact, and I said, mate, like, I really appreciate what's going on here, but I'm not going to jeopardize like a contract because, you know, if you're going to be slow, and was pretty honest with that. Anyway, because they didn't have enough time, the Australian teams, to sort of do their due diligence and research sort of how I played, I was getting messages from all my mates with like little snippets of people from Rugby Australia and even the club teams asking how I am.
Yeah.
And obviously they're messaging sort of my best mates. So my best mates are going, mate, incredible, like world beater. Little old Dave's just sitting there getting these messages being like, mate, thank you so much. But I was just like, it's so good that I'm mates with these people at the moment, because and then from that, it happened quite quickly. But obviously they did a little bit more research than just sending a text. But yeah, I agree with you. Pretty much in every contract, that's come into play massively.
It is. It's crazy, eh? But you did mention about your earlier days in Australia, so we will go back to how it all started for you. I thought I knew a little bit about your journey, but it turns out I didn't know too much up until Saracen. So give us a rundown up until there.
Yeah, like obviously I didn't go to a rugby school. Sort of made my way playing sort of a second division at school, and then had an injury. Ended up, I think I made New South Wales shadow squad as a loosehead prop, which is just one of the states in Australia. I think I was the second person ever from the school to make anything above anything in New South Wales. So they found my little name. I didn't even know. I just got sent. They found my name in a newspaper that I was like the reserve for the reserve for the reserve. So they were like loving it. They were like, this is incredible. You know? Anyway, nothing came of that. I was like 121 kilos, as I said. And went into Colts, which is under 20s for Manly. Played through there. Ended up captaining like first Colts, whatever, which is like your 20 side for Manly. Still heavily overweight. I just obviously, was bigger than a lot of kids, so it made it easier for me.
Still playing prop?
Still playing loose head prop, but throwing. But the throwing was just horrendous. Yeah. It's like hard to look back on that. Anyway, when you transition from Colts to grade, this is over 20s, you start playing against men. So I think something just clicked then. I was always obsessed with gym, but my diet was horrendous. You know, I'd spend 3 hours in the gym and then go home and have like the equivalent of a family-sized Penang chicken curry meal. So obviously, and then I was wondering why I wasn't losing weight, but there you go. Went to uni and then did some degrees and then learned about nutrition. And from then just something clicked. Ended up losing like 20 kilos in like 4 months. I was just obsessed. I had sort of like this big obsession with sort of fitness and that kind of stuff. got in really good nick, got help from a couple of people as well that were pretty knowledgeable, and then went into grade. Ended up going into grade like 96 kilos. So at that point, they were like, mate, you're pretty small now to play loose head. So we're going to move you into hooker. Luckily, I had a bloke on my right called Tim Fairbrother. I'm not sure if you remember him, but yeah, he was at the Canes and then went over to play Quins, and he was incredible for me because, you know, he taught me a lot as hooker. Like, and this was back in the days of crouch bind engage or whatever it was. So my neck's still in bits from that, but he was just incredible because he was just an older guy and I was so young and so raw. So he helped me along, and then each year I just played Manly, did well my first year. Second year just built on some weight, like just learned how to train properly and was building. And I had just this long-term sort of 3-year goal going back to the structured thing. I was like, I want to try get to sort of this 103 kilos, which, you know, looking back is still pretty light now for Super Rugby. Anyway, played grade and then had a really good year, 1 year, and got a call from Michael Checker, who was then head coach of the Tars. He was like, mate, come on in for this thing called a transitional contract, which is essentially they're transitioning you from club to Super Rugby, and they give you petrol money, but they flog you. So I was doing that. I was working 2 jobs.
How old were you?
I was 20. I think I was 20 at this stage. Yeah, 2021. So I was going to uni, doing full-time training at the Tars and working 2 jobs. But that's just the standard thing you do anyway when you're young. Like, it was good. It filled my time. I liked it. Did transitional year with them. I probably learnt the most off the the ex-players now, but the current players in the system. You know, I went in, the front row was Ben Robinson, Tatafu Polota and Sekope Kepu. Sekope were just played on the weekend, which was quite funny. So I was a sponge. I picked everything. I picked their brains so much about everything. I was just like a proper nose about rugby. And just listening. They also had Mario Ledesma as a scrum coach, who we didn't really click person because I was just a shy sort of kid. I kept my head down, whereas nowadays you get young kids coming into Super Rugby, they're very loud. It was very different back then. You were head down. If you spoke, you'd get put in the line, or if they didn't put you in a line verbally, they'd wait till you're on the training field and then absolutely fuck you up. So I had those lads, like had Cliffy Palu telling me about his footwork, and I was like, fucking hell, this is incredible. You look at the Tars team back then, it was essentially the Wallabies forward pack. So really good for me. Anyway, was like 4th string hooker because my set piece was just, you know, I was just working on it. It was my first year in Super Rugby. It was pretty shit house. My round the field game was pretty good though. I reckon that was my sort of point of difference. But if I understand why I never played, completely understand. Anyway, one game, 2 of the hookers, one got concussed, one got a red card. And then next week they were flying to South Africa. So I'm sitting there 4th string. Obviously the 3rd string is a shoe-in. 4th string, they haven't called me. I think we leave on Monday or something. I haven't got a call till like 9 p.m. Sunday. So they must have really gone through their options before me. Seeing if any of the loosehead props could maybe throw a dart. Anyway, they ended up calling me. So I was on the next flight over to South Africa on a 2-week trip. Unluckily didn't get like the best spots. Got Johannesburg against the Lions. I didn't get on. We lost by, I think it was like, we had a pretty big loss. Set piece got annihilated that game. Didn't get on. So I was like, okay. Anyway, we go to Bloemfontein the next week. We're up by 50. 10 minutes left. So I'm like surely, like this is the one. So anyway, Ben Robinson's on the bench and he goes, Dave, like get up, like start warming up, show him you're keen. So I am fucking busting. I'm doing Malcolms on the sideline, essentially like wind sprints, just like showing them like I'm keen, ready to go. We're up by 50. There's like 4 minutes left. I'm having a workout. I'm absolutely fucked by the time I get on. Luckily, they go, Dave, get on. I had like a 3-minute stint, went 1 from 1 in the lineouts. I'd spent the whole 14-hour plane ride learning every single line out. and then get one easy little default liner, which is great. Hit that, and then I don't know. I can't really remember much else, but it was just an awesome achievement because I'd sort of dedicated 5 years prior to that moment. You know, I didn't drink. I was just very, very committed. You know, I never went out. I was always doing extras stuff. I just worked my ass off to try and get to that point. As a lot of my close friends know, like the sort of the sacrifices I made. Anyway, come back. I'm lying on my then girlfriend's couch, jet lagged as shit, because obviously I haven't really like travelled to South Africa before.
Yeah.
Get a message through from my agent saying, mate, Saracens are keen on a 4-month deal for you as World Cup cover, because they were losing Skulk Brits and Jamie George. So they thought they'd replace them with Dave Porecki.
Mate, it must have been a good 3 minutes.
Oh, it was incredible. Maybe they just... No, because I think their benefit... Going over there, I spoke with Paul Gustard, who actually got me over there, and he said pretty much it was between you and 2 other hookers. The reason you got it was you got an English passport. So I never really knew how handy that would be. So I go, yep, keen. Obviously, Tars... You know, they didn't want to borrow me or anything, which it was pretty bad how it ended that, to be honest. Like, I didn't get much comms when I left about sort of my work on, something I still sort of remember to this day. So I went over to the UK, you know, with some fire in the belly to sort of like have this longer term goal of like coming back and sort of proving them wrong, that they sort of let me go. Went to Saracens and it was completely different, mate. Like Shani, my wife now, was like, I'll just come and travel. I won't interfere, because she obviously understood that the next 4 months was going to be like massive in terms of my career. I'll just come live with you. I'll use your player's house as a base and I'll just go travel. So I was like, awesome, because not only did I have her over there with me, but also she understood. And this was like her first year. She'd never been... understood like what the rugby career was about, where, you know, it's essentially shit.
Yeah.
For what it's pretty bad for your partners, you know, the sacrifices you make, as you obviously know. So in that 4 months, they've obviously come over and gone, mate, like, we know what you can do around the field. The opportunity is here for you to stay here long term, but what we need you to do is you need you to work on your set piece. By that stage, towards the end of the Waratahs, I actually started to click about scrummaging. Something clicked. I just understood like what I needed to do. It was the throwing that was horrendous. I was self-taught, as a lot of young hookers are. You just pick up a ball and you go, that feels good, I'm going to throw it. There wasn't any specialty coaches or anyone that like technically broke down my throws. So pretty much landed at Saris. They were incredible. Their sort of motto was, we'll worry about everything off the field so you can worry about everything on the field. That was down to everything, you know. They had a podiatrist come in on days off to fix your toenails up. They put your kids in a creche. You'd come off the field of a fitness session, you'd have like a berry coconut juice to rehydrate. Like, it was just incredible, mate. Like, and something I wasn't used to. So when your stuff's laid out, ready to go every day, you just chuck it back in the laundry. I was like, mate, do I need to go back and clean this? And they're like, no, mate, we do that for you. But it's so you can perform. And they'd go out and the training sessions would be so intense. The level of coaching was amazing. Like, not one coach was out of place there. They all knew exactly what the go was. Their presentation of how they were doing stuff was awesome. So I was just, you know, I had all the old guys come up to me and be like, mate, I'll take you out for coffee, I'll take you out for a meal, like Skulk Brits and Ernie Jabert, Neil de Kock, these 50 cap Springboks, whatever, coming in, they want to have a coffee with me. I got no life experience. I don't know how to even speak to these guys. Like, I ended up being really good mates with Juan Figueroa, who's an Argentinian tight end who was getting me around every fortnight to have a barbecue at his. It was just completely what I wasn't used to. Everyone was a lad. Anyway, so back into the rugby stuff. There was this bloke called Simon Harding. He worked for the RFU, so He's essentially a throwing coach. So he goes around to every English club and works with the players that are English qualified. It's their way of like their bigger picture of developing sort of hookers to be able to throw. I'm English qualified, so he goes, we meet. He helps me out. He goes, I'm sorry, mate. Like, you are shit at throwing. So I was like, fair. This is what I want to hear. It hurts, but this is what I want to hear. Because this is more than I ever got back home. You know, it was just keep repping whatever.
Yeah.
What's actually wrong with my throw? And he goes, this is what's wrong. Your hands, I don't understand. Like, what are you doing with your hands? And I don't know. And anyway, he gets the ball and he goes, this is how, yeah, I don't know. He goes, this is how you're going to throw. Gets the ball. He literally places my hand on. And he goes, we're just going to do this for the next 2 months. And so he broke down every step. So he literally got these boxing gloves and put them in front of my eyes. And I would like do that into the boxing gloves.
Sure.
To do follow through. He then, the next step was, your hands are good, that's automatic. I'm going to come in every week and I'm going to stick a broomstick here. And if you hit the broomstick, the session's done. So if I drop my chest and hit the broomstick, I then miss an opportunity to work with him. So I'm like, it obviously forces you to keep your chest high.
Yeah.
He broke down every little thing. So I get in, and the best thing was that Saracens come up to me and they go, the head coach, Mark McCauley, goes, mate, I know it's not going to be pretty, but what we want to see is that you've got the motivation and the persistence to keep doing it and to keep practicing. You know, if you did one session with your throwing coach and then you didn't practice all week, like, we're not going to keep you here. Like, this is just going to be the way it is. So I go, mate, like, you don't need to tell me. Like, I was the most, obviously, like, keen to learn because I wanted to learn how to hit a mark instead of fucking, you know, not worry about where he's going. Anyway, so we play this trial game. First trial game comes up, and I probably had one of the best games, like, I've ever had, but I look back to the throwing, and it was like fucking end over end. Like, I was hitting people in the stomach. It was not good because I was obviously learning how to do it. But the fact that around the field I played so well, ended up like I broke my hand. So I cracked on playing with a broken hand and I had a head knock. So I'm like sitting there after the game going to the hospital and they're like, mate, I'm getting calls from like the bloke who brought me over being like, mate, you played so well. We're so impressed. Like we're going to look to keep you on for the rest of the year. So I was like, great. I've bought myself some more time. Anyway, that all healed. I came back and just started to like, I think there was one game we played in France or I threw, like it was just one of those games. Everything went right throwing wise. So they could obviously see that the time I was putting in was paying off. I was still very inconsistent, but I just had one of those games that just worked perfectly, which happened for you every single game. Anyway, got onto it. And then as the year went on, like just had like a couple of niggly injuries, you know, like popped a rib or, you know, tweaked a hammy or something. So didn't work out. But if anything, it gave me sort of the time just to like work a lot with Simon, the throwing coach, just to continue banging it out. Anyway, ended up staying for the whole year, which was awesome. Like it was one of the best times of my life, and had some incredible hookers in front of me, like Scott Brits and obviously Jamie, who helped me. They had no reservations in helping me progress. I picked their brain. You know, I had like Mako Vunapola. I would just ask them a lot of questions and just be a proper nose, do a lot of review stuff, and then got to the end of it, and that's when I had the conversation with Grant on the bench, because towards the end I ended up playing sort of like 4 or 5 games to them in the Prem and was 24th man for like a fair bit of them, and then had the conversation with Grant. And then so I went up to Saracens and I was like, mate, I'm just going to be, because you guys have been so good to me, I'm just going to be honest. Like if you guys want to have a crack, like I'm keen, but where are you taking me here? Like, because obviously you've got these 2 or 3 hookers that are incredible internationals. I'm nowhere near that. So if I stay, am I even going to play? Because I knew by that stage I was sort of 22. I needed to just play. And if I was going to throw shit, I'd throw in shit in game and learn from that. And he said, I think you're smart enough to realize like where you sit. So if Irish offering you a 2-year deal with sort of the goal of making you sort of first choice, then that's I think that's smart. And the fact that he sort of said that looking for me, you know, selfishly they could have gone, oh no, we can definitely keep like a third, fourth stringer here as numbers. He was like, no, we want you to develop. This is the whole thing. Like they sort of see it as a win for them that they're able to bring someone over and then kick on to another club, which is just like tells you a lot about the club. Anyway, so signed with Irish and then had David Pace as their first choice there, which was, again, I've gone from having these 2 quality hookers to another quality hooker who probably didn't teach me so much technically about scrummaging or line out, but probably just the toughness side of it. That after games, you'd see him pretty much wheelchair into the physio room with Brian O'Leary, the physio there, and then go out on the weekend and be a machine. You know, his body was hanging on by a thread. Yeah. It was just incredible to watch, and we had like a mutual respect for each other because I just kept my head down, continued to work. I wasn't that guy that was, you know, coming out and being a hero in training, but in games, I'd obviously try and always put my body on the line. And in those probably 2 years, continued to work, and then sort of played sort of those pretty much 2 years off the bench, and obviously missed out on Coventry and Dory because as I signed with them, we got relegated and they got sacked. So we got new coaches in the bottom league, is obviously when you came as well, the championship. What a grind. And Ben Franks in that was in there. So, you know, I got some experienced players, and looking back on it, it was actually really good for me because it was another year to develop in a you know, less competitive league, even though it's still very good. There were still some games that you're like, okay, like this is 60-0. So, you know, it took a bit of the pressure off. And then the following year, the second year, was when I sort of like started to kick on and play well, and my throwing was coming on. And then Irish saw that, and under Nick Kennedy and Skivs and that, they sort of kept me there for another 2 years. And that 2 years was the 2 years that I really started to kick on set piece wise and just sort of like play, just continued to play and develop. And Kendo was like, mate, we expect big things from you. You're going to be transitioning now into sort of like our first choice hooker because Pacey's like going to retire, or he's going to sort of like take a backward step. I was like, awesome. This is like everything's sort of trending towards this. And then had a really good 2 years. And then you'd left by then.
Relegation.
So the story was obviously we got relegated. We relegated, promoted, and then won the first game against Quins in front of 60,000 in a double head. So we're like, we are.
Here we go.
This is our year. We've done it. We've done the hard yards. And then, what, 16 straight we lost? Oh my God. And then that's when the coaches sort of came back in. We got Brendan Venter in, and I remember there was like, mate, it was like round 8. There's 24 rounds, and he's come into a meeting and he's gone, lads, we're relegated. There's nothing we can fucking do about it. We're like 8 games in, you know. We're not even last, I don't think, and he's just already foreseen that this team's going to be shit. We're relegated. We're not going to be good. So at least we can have a fucking crack. We can take some scalps along the way. So I remember he had like these hats next to like the rounds on the wall that like we took the Quins, you know, and then obviously it went a bit downhill from there.
That was
we lost every single game. So we got relegated again. Mate, that was it. And then see you later. So came in, essentially told us we're shit, we're going to get relegated. It was fucking awesome working with him though, because of I actually really enjoyed him. You probably didn't because you probably liked that.
I enjoyed him as well. I found him awesome. I thought he was a real smart man and loved the way he thought about the game.
He was really good. Yeah, and just good for us because we had like some younger coaches coming in, and he just told you how it was. If you played shit, he was like, mate, you're not playing because you're shit.
And his presentations, he was someone who you're always nervous listening to him, eh?
Yeah. I remember this. I remember he was clearly wrong about this one fold that led to a try. Everyone knew it. But no one said a word. Like, no one says a word. I think, okay, yep, you're right. So anyway, he left, and then we got relegated again. So went down to the champ. And then you'd left by then, hadn't you? Again in the second relegation.
Yeah, I left after that, yeah.
Yeah, so like a lot of people left. We got like a lot of new people in. And as a squad, we got, I think it was sort of like halfway through that year, we got new coaches again. So this is now the third string of new coaches in 3 years. So, which was tough, you know. A lot of the coaches stayed on, like Skivs stayed on as forwards coach, which is amazing for me because like I can't speak highly enough of Skivs and the squad. And then, you know, we just built, we came together, started to build like sort of combinations really well. We started to understand sort of the coaching, what they wanted, and then we got promoted, did well that year, which was awesome. And then that year was when we really like came together as sort of, there was like sort of 5 or 6 in the leaders group. And we said, look, we're just getting new coach after new coach. Like they come in, it takes a good 4 or 5 months for them to really understand the playing group or where we're going wrong or what's wrong with the culture. So we just said, fuck this, let's just do it ourselves. So we came together as a playing group and we just pretty much redesigned. I know obviously you say you can't really like create culture. It's just got to naturally happen. But I think we did. We put in things to be more professional. We'd heard so much about actually like the Crusaders leadership group that they've got so much power that they can essentially go into the head coach and say, mate, like this is what we think. And the head coach is so open that he can just take that on board. We didn't have that. We had sort of the coaches ran everything. The players were like an afterthought. So we tried to rebalance that narrative. So we put in stuff like, we were like, the professionalism is shit here. So if you're late to a physio or you forget something, there's going to be a fine. And the fine is you throw a dart at the dartboard, and every dart is related to a punishment.
Yeah.
So it's funny, you see these young lads up there fucking shaking and they miss the board and there's £100 fine. So it's like, it not only got the boys around each other because it's so fucking funny, it also kept boys accountable because you'd see them running to the physio rooms. And then other things would be like, we had no values as a club. Every club you go to, you see stuff in the gym. But we were like, what can we as players actually create that people are going to buy into? So we did so much work on this stuff, and then we just obliterated the gym with stuff. And the group was just awesome. We were meeting like once a week. We were saying what needs to be done. And we then headed into the premiership, just like a different side. And then that year, you know, we actually got some gritty wins. And I'm not putting it down to like the culture stuff, but there's got to be an element that like has helped the club from where it was. You get these new players in, you get a group of lads together that we actually did, like there was no dickheads in there. We all like loved each other and we worked hard and we were all on the same page. So we just said like, you know, if we fuck up and we're on the same page, we're happy with that. No worries. Like we'll just have a crack at the next game. We weren't going to beat those Exeter Sarries teams because we weren't there yet, but we ground them out. I remember like we played Sarries in pissing down rain and we just stayed in the fight. We got so close. Just mentally, we were all switched on and stayed. And then we had like some amazing wins that year. And then COVID hit. And for me, like it was unfortunate because like I wanted to see where the season went. But obviously by that stage, I was off contract. So I was... you know, I was either staying at Irish for a long-term deal or I was going to probably move to another club. And then out of nowhere, you know, I'm messaging my agent saying, mate, is there anything doing in Australia before I sign this? Because like, to be honest, I don't really mind. Like it's positives of both. I either come back and have a crack or I stay here and I essentially finish my career here, because, you know, by that stage I would have been sort of 27 or 28. Anyway, so he said, no, there's nothing. Nothing doing. They're pretty disorganized at the moment. And how quickly the clubs in the UK were coming out, like, it doesn't align right. So I goes, fine. So I then start renegotiating, you know, between these two clubs in the UK, and get put on a deadline of 2 weeks to, you know, give the comms. And I think it was the 12th day, my agent gets in contact and says, mate, like, don't do anything. Like, Rugby Australia have said they're keen because they're trying to bring these players back home. And I go, fucking hell, you're cutting it fine. But we just need a provincial club to be keen. So they were obviously reaching out to the provincial clubs, and got like 2 on board. But Scott Johnson wanted to have a phone call with me before anything happened. This was now the 13th night. So I pretty much needed to make the decision the next day. And I was like adamant in my mind, just the way I operate. I'm like, I'm not having anyone come in here and fuck this up for me. So if they want to fuck around or whatever and do the whole contracting, you know, back and forth thing, I'm not about it. You either offer something or I'm going to sign here. That's just the way I want to do it. Anyway, so 3 a.m, have a conversation with Scott Johnson, and obviously went well. Like, we probably spent 15, 20 minutes talking about like the color of the jersey. So I was like, this is different. And it just was a good dude. I just had like a natural conversation with him. I wasn't really asking about rugby stuff because obviously he'd done his due diligence in knowing what type of player I was. I just kind of wanted to know what he was about because he was sort of at the helm. And then, you know, the offer came through the next day, and told my wife, because I was trying to like keep it under wraps, being like, oh, there's a little bit of interest, because I didn't want to get her hopes up. Went up at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning and said, oh, by the way, like, I just had a call and it looks like we're probably going. She burst into tears because it's been 5 years since over there, and she was so keen to get home. But at the same time, we'd built this amazing life over there. We loved it, and she loved it. But it was the fact she could just, you know, have a little bit of a break because it'd been so long. And then, signed with the Tars, spoke to Rob Penny, and then came back in. And in quarantine, so obviously COVID hit and got back. In quarantine, they hooked me up with this like gym. It was incredible. Like, they gave me mats, cycling bike, all this stuff. Anyway, one of the exercises was, mate, you gotta run on the spot. So I'm like, okay, yep, no worries. And they're like, yeah, if you run on the spot, mate, you'll be ready to go. Like, you're going to be ready to play. So I'm running on the spot. Anyway, because you're so immobile in there, I'm like doing laps around quarantine, like with my headphones on, listening to What a Lad, in fact. And so I run on the spot and I feel my calf tweak. And I'm like, fucking hell. So I got a week left. I've called the medical. I'm like, mate, my calf, something's doing. And they're like, what from? I was like, running on the spot. Anyway, get out of it. And it's gotten better, which is good. And they put me through like a little flush run. And then they go, mate, like, this round 1 tomorrow. So don't worry about that. We'll train you for a week and then look to get you involved round 3. So train, and then get named on the bench round 3, first game. And then we go out for Monday training. Everyone's come up to me, congrats, man. Like, they don't know me or anything. Like, well done, this is awesome. And first drill, I backpedal and I just feel my calf tweak. And I'm like, fucking hell, like, this can't be happening. Anyway, so that rules me out. And then the next week, we run again on it, retweak. And then the following week after that, run again on it, retweak. Oh. And then they go, mate, you're done for the seat. So it's just like, I'm just there like, is this a fucking nightmare? Like, I've obviously come back in my first season. I'm now just missing the season because I've got a weak calf that's just continuing to re-tear. Shambles. Anyway, that season goes on. We actually do quite well. And then obviously make my way back in. And then in the following year, my calf's fine. The ended up like actually getting 2 games in this Rugby Australia select team where they played Argentina, because obviously they'd sort of brought me back. They wanted to see what I was about. So it was good to actually just get on and be like, I'm fine. My calves are fine now. And then we cracked on with the Tars, and then eventually sort of started. I played pretty hefty minutes. And then it was the second last game against the Highlanders away. And I was in a scrum and went to hook the ball, and the scrum collapsed at the same time. And my calf, like I just felt like my calf explode.
Oh, true.
So I'm like feeling down my calf, and I like nothing's switching on. So I'm like, oh fuck, what have I done here? So I'm obviously like pretty upset because I know like I've done something horrendous. So come off, you know, by that stage I'd already made like a sort of Wallaby camp, and the team was getting picked the next week for all the travel stuff. So in my mind I was like, I'm in for a shot at it, but this is going to fuck me up. So I didn't know how severe it was, and then, you know, did scans, and they were like, mate, essentially we've never seen this. The physios that I was dealing with had never seen this thing. It's called Aponeurosis, which is essentially you got your 2 calves, your gastrocnemius. I'd separated those calves from each other. So they were like, you can't surgically operate on this because it's connective tissue. So you're just going to have to wait. And so we waited. I was like, mate, I was at the pool at like 8 p.m. Clovelly. Clovelly is just a beach around the corner from me. All the Sydney siders would know it, the millions that are listening. I was down there like night just trying to get this fluid out. My calf was like the size of my quad, essentially. It was just so much fluid from like just this trauma.
It's a big calf.
Yeah. And yeah. Anyway, got a couple like weeks, months down the track, and it just wasn't improving. I could barely walk. I was like off feet for 2 weeks, pretty much not being able to walk, which is just horrendous. By this stage, my missus was in the early stage of her pregnancy. So again, going back to how hard it is for partners, I was on the couch while she was battling through her first trimester, which was so difficult for me. The blessing was that I missed all that stuff so I could be there for, you know, the start and that journey, which was amazing. Anyway, we went and got scans because I'm like, this is just not working. I need to do more here. So I was in contact with like my Irish physios, being like, mate, have you ever heard of this? What can I do? Just anyone I could contact to like get their sort of head around it. I was like sort of sending scans off, like reports. And then they go, oh, have you tried aspirating it, which is essentially they just stick a needle in and get all the fluid out. So I was like, yep, whatever, like let's try that. So I went in, sort of spoke to the physio. I was like, can we just try this? Next day, booked me in, took it out. After that, probably got like 50% motion back. I could feel it in the pool, like went straight to the pool after, just magically got rid of all the blood. They took about 8 mil of blood. I remember seeing this tube of just blood that was just stuck in this pocket. At this stage, it's like a couple months down the track, you know. I'm getting sort of the Wallabies guys coming in, checking up on me. Anyway, it actually starts to progress, but as you know, with calves, if you're off your calf for so long, your Achilles then starts to flare up. So whilst my calf was healing, even though it was weak, my Achilles then flared up. So I got the Wallabies physio coming in. This is right before the spring tour. And he's like, this is just your test for you. We're just going to see how it is. And I go, okay, that's fine. And I was telling my physios, because I was trying to push ahead of schedule, I was like, mate, can you just please let me like just have a crack at this? If I do damage, I'll cop that. I'll be the one to be responsible for that. But I need to have a crack to see if this is going to work. Anyway, get run by the physio, and I was in fucking like agony in my Achilles. He could obviously see I was limping, but I was just like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to have a crack. Gets off. He's like, mate, like, you know, like this is not right. You need to like just get this right now for next season. And obviously it's pretty disappointing, but I knew what the goal was. It was well before. So anyway, weirdest story was new coach comes in, DC, Darren Coleman, and he gets us doing these like hard yakka sort of Saturday morning sessions where we just go off site, you know, you pick a beach, just old school, like just love it. Like, it's good. Obviously, you missed out on like Saturday off, but it was for the bigger picture of where we needed to be, because we had a horrendous season for the Tars. So he's just rebuilding culture. Anyway, so like I couldn't do a lot of it. Anyway, I got close, and they go, oh, you guys need to do this session because this is what we built. This is what I love, like, and it's like a surfboat kind of rowing stuff. So you like run out from the beach to this boat. Meanwhile, my calf's still hanging on for dear life. Anyway, I just go, fuck it. Let's just, what's the worst that can happen, you know? Looking back, a lot of bad things could happen. But so do the session, I'm running down the sand into the water. And it's that run that they didn't account for, that there is actually a bit of movement for my calf, you know, unstable ground. Anyway, so do the session is so good, man. Like the bonding we had, like it was so fun. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning. So like the sun's coming up, beautiful. Anyway, the next day there's like 3 or 4 of us. Oh, sorry, the Monday, 3 or 4 of us that we were like, mate, there's something, like my foot is bled up because like we've just been running on sand. And I'm like, fuck, like I should have just said no. I should have just, because they gave us the option to, and I was like, no, I want to do it. And I should have just said no. On Monday couldn't train, and then Tuesday didn't train, had Wednesday off, came in on Thursday, they're ready, and out of nowhere, like my Achilles pain just vanished. It was almost like, it was like this magic trick of running on sand that switched this Achilles on. I don't know why, but from then, all the rehab, I just flew through the rehab. I got no Achilles pain, like my strength was coming back, and then missed pretty much all the preseason, but would do these hard yakka sessions, you know, you do boxing or whatever. And then a week before the season start, my wife gave birth to my baby, so I missed like a trial, and then just came back, played 1 trial game for match fitness, and then he was like, we think you've done enough for like sort of 40, 50 minutes against Fiji draw, which you saw highlights of them against the Rebels the week before, and they're scoring 100-meter tries. I've been out for 8 months. I've done like a 30-minute game against club teams. So I'm like, no, I'm very keen for this. Even though I was very keen. Yeah. I was just more like, how am I going to get fit? Luckily, I had the S&C go, mate, I'm going to get you fit in 2 weeks. I'm going to flog you. And then from then on, just been really, I guess, that last sort of really big injury was probably one of my worst in terms of like mentally, and I'm like quite mentally strong. It just sort of woke me up this year to be like, what are you not doing that A, you used to do when you were fine, or B, you could do more of now to put yourself in the position to not break down when it counts. You know, you're not playing anywhere near the amount of games or minutes that you played in England. So what is it that you're not doing? And it made me reassess things about sort of my recovery or food or training, and just, as the season's gone on, I've just been really like quite anal with the way that I sort of like prepare and keep my body, even through like the newborn phase with Luca, just trying to do everything I can to make sure that you're peaking in the right times. Whether or not that's helped or made a difference, I don't know, but touch wood so far, like I've had obviously a couple little niggles as you do through a season, but we'll just see how it goes. Really, I can only just continue to crack on. So, mate, that is essentially my rugby story.
One of the great rugby stories. You did mention Luca there. How has he changed your life?
Well, it's different, like playing, isn't it? Like, come back from Monday, Tuesday, big days. You're actually like pretty pumped to get home to see what he's like. Like, I get his grizzly period. I take him off Shanice's hand for his grizzly period in the afternoon, and I'm like holding on for dear life. But I know obviously she spent the entire day with him, so I got to like just try and puck her up. But it's just awesome. I can't wait. We were pretty diligent in the first like sort of 3 months of his life around COVID, so we just kept him away from like a lot of people. But now I think he'll probably come out to the game this weekend against the Canes for the first time. So just being able to like take a photo with him, man, it's just like, it's awesome. And I'm not that type of guy that was like very clucky for a kid, you know. I was just like, whenever you're comfortable, we'll do it, and we'll just back ourselves as parents, and we'll learn on the run. And it's just pretty difficult especially the first stage, like with going away, you think coming back to Super Rugby, you're not going to travel that much, but you actually do, you know, you're a night here in Canberra, then you're away for 2 nights in Auckland or whatever, and it's difficult, you know, she's juggling it on her own. It's hard as a partner having a young child, just the time away. So I just make sure like I can try and support her as much as I can when I'm home. But it's awesome, man. I'm loving it.
What a dad. But how structured are you? Has he got a super structured routine as well?
This is like this is going to be the topic of the thing on this podcast, isn't it? Just how fucking OCD weird I am. You haven't even scratched the surface either. Like you can't, like, I always ask Shanae, I'm like, what, like, when's the sleep routine stuff start? She goes, you don't. Like, newborns, they sleep when they want, like, not when they want, but like, you know, as he's gotten older, there's more and more like things that you start put in place. For him, there's nothing right now. There's a routine at night. It's sort of his bath time that gets him down, which is awesome. But up until then, Shanice's just a machine. She's been amazing, especially like with the training load, and it's coming down to like pretty important time Waratah wise. So she understands like the start of the week is horrendous. Like in terms of she needs to obviously just carry the team really, and then I try and just do as much as I can to just like facilitate really. But nah, he I guess as he gets older he'll have a bit more like structure. But I'm not going to force him if he wants to do it. If he can, you know, I'm not going to be a pushy parent. Oh, am I? I don't know.
But before Luca, you also had another child, I guess you would call it, your little sausage dog, Frankie.
Yeah.
Hey, how's he going?
He's going well. We had a little late night at the vet the other night with his back, but mate, he had a naughty Insta following over in the UK, but since then we brought him back from the UK, which was a shambles. I don't ever recommend anyone in your millions of listeners bring their dog back from the UK. It was pretty much a year thing. But he's going strong. He is my first child. I'm not embarrassed. Like a lot of people see this semi-big rugby player walking around getting the morning coffee with a long-haired sausage dog, and they go, I get a lot of comments about it, and I go, yep, nice. You're judging me on my dog. Well done. But yeah, mate, it's going. We got a nice little family going here.
Yeah, and 11,000 followers. Is that legit, or did you pay for those?
I didn't pay. It used to be actually, like, I boast about this, even though I never ran it. It was like, it used to be 16, and I was actually contemplating just changing, like, making it my profile, because I only had, like, I don't know, like 60 followers or something, you know? Like, no one gave a shit about my photos. Changing it, but genuinely, like, I reckon there was probably 20% of the followers were actual people that like sausage dogs. The other were like, oh, my wife is like posting photos of me in Irish gear, so they're just rugby noses, you know, just coming on and following this dog's account so they can get access to like a rugby player's life, even though I'm like, you know, who cares? So yeah, there's some strange humans that like make up the majority, I reckon, of that Insta following, but mate, if, you know, we haven't posted it for a while. It's just I keep it up there just for laughs. You know, it's a funny little conversation starter when I meet someone new and they go on my profile and see that it's like linked to my dog. It's just always funny that, you know.
Oh, Frankie, absolute lad. But what are the plans for you going forward? Obviously, you've signed 2 more years at the Waratahs. There's a big World Cup carrot next year for you. Is that the sort of goals?
Yeah, I think as a player, for me, I'm not massively financially driven that you have to, you know, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to go to Japan or whatever, you know, and cash in. If I'm trying to do something like play footy or anything in my career, even my life after rugby stuff that I want to do, I need to be like aspiring for that top. And even if you don't hit it, the way that I sort of operate, I just need to. Otherwise, I just don't have the motivation to do the shit I do during the week, you know, like I I wouldn't be bothered to sort of like meal prep or prepare or sacrifices with your partner or even with your like my newborn son or your body on a Sunday, or the surgeries you put your body through. I just wouldn't think it's worth it. So for me, it's always been the goal ever since I left Australia to come back. Like I needed to go over there, develop in the areas I needed to work on. And then it was to come back and at least have a crack. This is what my dream, like essentially, like this is what I've worked a decade of my career for. It is to have a crack. But in saying that, I just have the small steps, you know, like I'm realistic, or coaches aren't going to pick you if you're just because you want it. Like you need to actually perform. And if you perform with the TARS, things will happen. Doors will open. You'll at least have a conversation about where you sit. So in that small sort of goal, it's just continue this year performing for my team. And I love the TARS and where we're heading now. I love everyone in the organization. It's been an awesome year and a year that we will continue to grow throughout. And that is the main reason I am staying, because I do see the development. You know, we've got a lot of exciting things happening. We've got new facilities and all this stuff that will only help. We've got people returning. And then if the Wallabies happens at the end of the year, you know, my focus shifts to that. How can I perform the best I can perform at that level? In my mind, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. And then, you know, World Cup stuff, that'll only happen if you're performing Wallabies. That's not going to happen if you're third or fourth string hooker there. You know, you might get a look in to be a training member, but I don't want that. Like, that's not my goal. I've seen that throughout my career where people are happy getting paid just to be a third or fourth stringer, but I can't be about that. I may as well just go and not wake up, not being able to move my neck, but go get an office job, you know? I just don't see the point in it. So yeah, I guess that's a bit of my sort of motivations the next couple of years. I guess I'm just building, continue to develop, and if it happens, then it happens. And, you know, I'll try and do the best I can at any level I'm playing.
You mentioned money there, and you are one of probably the least motivated player I've met by money. You're always, like you said, it's always about being the best. And where's the lack of interest on the money side of things come from?
Oh, don't get me wrong. Obviously, you know, if they're offering you a bag of Skittles and a can of Coke, like, you're going to say no thanks. But I guess I'm probably just like confident that if I can put my mind to something, I'll be okay. So even sort of like life after rugby stuff, you know, like if rugby doesn't pan out in the next couple of years the way that I sort of envisioned, then I'll have a crack at something else. And I'm confident that the work that I'll put into something, I'll reap the benefits. And, you know, if that's financially, then so be it. If that's the actually driving towards something in life in terms of like a journey through another business, then that's something that I always look towards. Like I want to be involved in something that's actually got a purpose. I think or got a goal to work towards. I find that like the most intriguing thing, I reckon, or the most motivating thing. You're actually working towards something as a team. And so, which is why I'm so excited about the Waratahs stuff. Like, again, this for me is like my long-term goal ever since I started rugby. So why would I say, oh no, I'm not getting paid enough, when 20 years down the track, you know, I'm going to look back and be like, you should have just fucking had a crack and you could have done something like with your career. You could have reached the pinnacle, and what, like 50 grand or 100 grand, like stopped you from doing that. I think I'll be probably like quite embarrassed with myself if that's the case. There's that case, and then there's people that are getting offered $2 million a year to go play in Japan, and that's life-changing money, you know. You can, but I'm not at that stage, you know. I'm not that type of player that, well, yeah, I think you were probably more where you're sitting now, even retired, or closer to that than me. But yeah, so, you know, that I guess that's my sort of train of thought with that.
Yeah, I like it. It's a cool mindset. And you did mention a little bit about life after footy. Have you got anything in particular you're thinking you're going to go down?
Yeah, I think we've sort of like discussions in the past. Like, I was pretty proactive in the UK. They're massive on their life after rugby stuff. So I ended up just doing a diploma in sort of financial trading, and then undertaking currently. It's called like CFA, which is to become like a chartered financial analyst. So yeah, like it's a lot. It sounds nice, but it's a lot
Sounds
of it's
very
a
nice.
hell of a lot of work, especially juggling professional rugby. So I'm struggling with it at the moment, but just making sure like I'm working towards something. And then I think sort of the next like year or two, now that COVID's chilled out, I'll start doing some sort of work experience stuff in that financial sector. So again, if any of the millions are in that, reach out to me, keen. I'm also like on the Rupa rep here, so I'm also pretty like keen on lads here that aren't exposed to it to just do something outside of footy and just trying to get a few things going with that, because I know I've seen it both hands. I've seen people come out and be incredible post rugby. Or the other way where they finished and they're like, they're fucked. They've got nothing ready to go. And just like what it does for your life as well, like your balance in your life, I think is, because obviously I was so narrow-minded with just rugby, and then a lot of things happened that, I started doing a lot of things outside of footy that it actually helped my rugby, because I wouldn't go home and dwell on things. I just, it really helped me. So, I'm actually excited for like life after rugby stuff, but at the moment I've got like a big 2-3 years ahead to achieve something I've been working towards for a decade, and we'll see where that goes.
Mate, no wonder you're not worried about the money side of things with rugby. You're trading, making millions every single day.
No. You just do courses and then too afraid to dip your toe in, so it's good.
Oh, but what a story and what a lad. As always, we have gone to our Instagram for some questions. We have had a few come in for you, as always.
Here we go.
First one. How are you always the best trainer on a Tuesday? I noticed this too, actually.
I'm definitely... that's something I reckon once I hit 23, I stopped doing that. It was more survival mode on a Tuesday, really. So that's definitely not me.
Okay, next one. Can you please stop sending me to overpriced sushi? I also experienced this with you as well. This is a common trend.
As you know, there's a couple things in my life that I value very highly, and sushi's one of them. So anywhere I'm at, I Google best sushi near me. I give a shit about price. I just want the best. So yeah, there's a funny story. One of the ACAD lads here asked me, because obviously they found out I'm not only a coffee fiend but a sushi fiend. They asked me, "Oh yeah, where do you go?" I go, "This incredible place just here." So all three of them go, sit down, and they go their normal. They're normally used to like these dollar rolls or whatever. They sit down. It's like $15 for this massive like set. So they all have a scull of glasses of water and walk out.
Oh, classic. I think you sent me to a few of those in London too. Okay, next one. Ask him why he's never been to a social in his life.
I'm very much like a time, and like it's the right time, like if we got a game, like I can't mentally back up from big nights. So if we're going out for a couple casuals, talk shit, have some good food, I'm a massive fan of that. If we're going out to hammer a nightclub, I just know myself well enough. I just go, "See you guys, I'm out." And they go, "Where you going?" I go, "I'm not fucking going out to that." I'm just honest enough to say it. But time and place is good. We just have some crackers. For example, like we went away on a camping trip with the Tars. Perfect, You can't kick onto a nightclub there, so you just got to be around each other. I'm more for sort of like the social side of a social as opposed to the kicking on and you're not remembering the night. It's just not for me, mate.
Fair enough, mate. I'm with you there. Okay. Do you think his body will survive another 2 years?
So far it's been going all right. Touch wood, but yeah, mate, I'll be right. By then I'll be a couple more years, so I'm only 29 at the moment. So another 2 more years gets me to sort of 31. So even by that stage, mate, I'm still, you've seen a couple of hookers overseas that are going to like 35, 36. So we'll just see just keep going year to year as I have, and just keep reassessing things and how I'm feeling as I crack on.
Love that. Okay, next one. This is an interesting one. I'll be surprised if the answer is no. Have you ever lost a collision?
Yeah, yes, I definitely have. The thing is, in the UK, everyone runs straight, so it's very easy to make collisions. Here, you're going for a shot. Again, I think it was the Canes. You can probably find the clip. The Canes ran like just a normal, I think it was like off 9, off 10 shape. And I'm like square in front of this guy. So I'm like, I'm going to melt this bloke. They're just so athletic in New Zealand. A little bit of footwork. So I've committed to a tackle. He's completely stepped me and run like, I think he's run like 40 metres. We played the Canes. 40 metres to score a try. So I'm like lying on the ground just watching him run away. That's the difference. You can't, it's harder here because everyone, no matter what, are just so much more athletic and they play with such more space. So it's just a lot harder to make those collisions. Where in the UK, you're in the mud. You're playing between the 15s, so it's a lot easier to just plant your feet and make a dominant shot. So yeah.
Okay, last question. This has been one of the great podcasts, but we'll always love to finish with some advice. What's the best piece of advice you have for a Woodland listener?
Oh, I guess from my experience as a young fella, I've actually had like a couple of people like reach out to me saying that, you know, they haven't sort of made teams. What should they do? What's the advice? I've had a couple of people like early 20s say like, what do you reckon? I'm not getting any love from super clubs. I would probably just say persistence is everything. You can always make it work. You know, you don't have to be getting paid solely rugby to keep your rugby career going. I think that's like, people see a lot of I'm either a rugby player or I'm not. You can do both whilst staying on task of trying to be a rugby player to eventually get that contract that financially you can support yourself. I see a lot of people just kind of like say, oh, they haven't made it, so they're just going to fuck rugby off and have a crack at after. You can do both. So as a young fella, if you're similar, you didn't go to rugby school or you didn't get like the love you needed or the advice, just be persistent with it. Do stuff outside of rugby so you've got sort of your backups, but don't sort of just give up on it because the first couple of years or you see your mates making under 20s Aussie or you see your mates getting in super clubs. Like, it just doesn't happen like that for everyone. So everyone's obviously got their different stories. So I guess for me, mine was sort of like my persistence and hunger to like just stay, not worry about anything else, know that you have belief in yourself that you'll eventually get there. And when you do, you'll look back and be like, I'm so happy that I didn't just throw in the towel, or I'm so happy that I also did stuff outside of rugby. Because, you know, I see a lot of people come out straight from schools, you know, they're signing people from 17 years old who finish rugby. They don't even know how to do it. They don't even know how to open Excel, you know, they don't know how to send it, like do anything.
Yeah.
So what's better? I would rather go in being a more complete person than solely footy as your life, because you're mentally so dictated on performance, results. At the end of the game, at the end of the day, it's just a game. And, you know, you've got the media that go hard at people, but it's just a game at the end of the day. So for those young fellas that are, I guess, struggling a little bit, or, you know, they might not have made a team or a rep team, I can honestly say it does not fucking matter. Like, you can make, it doesn't matter. It's great if you make it, but it won't matter. If you stay persistent to it, you will eventually get to where you want to go to if you put in the effort.
Oh, that is powerful.
Wow. What a...
Wow.
Incredible.
Absolutely incredible, mate. I knew it would be good, but I wasn't expecting that much, mate. Genuinely, I reckon it's the most inspiring episode for any sort of young player who's sort of coming through the grades. There's so much in this episode about how to sort of make it through, and mate, you're a perfect example of the way you've made it through, made a career for yourself, and look at you now, mate. Loving watching you play for the Tars, and excited to see you in that gold jersey, which injury dependent I'm sure is going to happen very shortly, but
we'll see, mate.
like you say, one step at a time, and good luck for the Tars for the rest of the season. And mate, it's been awesome having you on. What a lad, because what a lad you are.
Well, I appreciate it, mate. You were a bigger lad than I am, but mate, awesome thanks for having me, and sorry it took so long. It's just a bit cringe sometimes listening to yourself speak.
Yeah, mate. Well, I know your OCD schedule. It sort of took you 2 years to plan this one.
Yeah, mate, you've got 2 minutes actually.
Okay, let's go.
You've got 2 more minutes. I got to go. I'm on a tight schedule today.
All right, cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
All right, mate.